And welcome everyone to the JubilAge podcast with your host, Carol Chiarito. Carol, it's great to be with you. I want to do something a little bit different with this podcast this time around because I think a lot of people know you as a podcaster. And they think, well, Carol does podcasts, but I know from talking with you, you do a whole lot more than just podcast. So I want to get into that and explore that a little bit today, if you don't mind. And by the way, good to see you as well.
Hey, good to see you. And that sounds like a great plan. I'd love to share all the things that I do.
That's fantastic. So where do we start? You've got a lot of stuff that you do, and you got a lot of things to offer. So
We've talked in the previous podcast about a few things that I do, but I want to narrow it down and kind of bring it a little bit to life on this podcast. So, going out and speaking in front of people is something that I have been doing since I was probably 3. It's something that I love to do. And
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm a big bluegrass aficionado, and so many bluegrass players all can say that same thing. I've been playing in front of audiences since I was like about 5 years old. So
yeah. They might have been inanimate dolls or dogs at the time, but hey, I was speaking.
There you go.
So when I created JubilAge, the podcast, and all that I'm doing in speaking around the country, it was a culmination of all of the years of working as a financial advisor and all that knowledge put together with the years of working with seniors and elder care and finding the right elder care and kind of mashing it all together to create a great conversation to have in front of many different types of audiences. And as I've said before, my specialty is actually working with advisors 2 ways. I can work with them one-on-one to learn how to be more of a specialist in aging clients or working with their aging clients. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here's the thing. Imagine if you were an advisor and you invited your clients to hear me come to speak. And I began to talk about all the things that I just mentioned, aging, financially aging, elder care, and how you as a financial advisor are the person that they need to go back to learn about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and doing it in a fun way. It's going to be something that they'll remember. And guess what? The financial advisor doesn't have to get it compliance approved because I'm talking about all the greatness that they do.
And I should mention for people who aren't watching this podcast, one of the fun things or fun ways I'm going to assume that you add to the party is you bring Betty along, and Betty is the little tiny camper that this podcast is produced from, as a matter of fact, and in which I frankly am in love with. I might steal it from you one day.
I know. Who doesn't love Betty? I swear. But yes, that is one of the things that I can do. So I can come with or without Betty, sometimes like this time of year where it's, snowing and blowing and driving through Oklahoma or Texas or wherever, Colorado, it sometimes is scary. But so I can come with or without Betty. Betty makes it even more fun because that's the party like it's 1959 event, because Betty is a 1959 camper. I put on my poodle skirt and we talk about the ages. People who were born in 1959, we've had this conversation before, turned 65 this year. That's a big deal. That is a big milestone. And so hence the whole Betty party like it's 1959 events, but just having some fun around the whole idea of aging. I think aging gets to be, oh my gosh, doom and gloom in most conversations. Don't you think?
Oh,
So
yeah. No, very much so. It's not spoken of in positive terms. That's for sure.
exactly. And so that's what I do is bring some light and a little bit of fun to the whole idea of aging, but then put a little serious take something that's as serious as finances and elder care and planning, takes those serious topics, which they are, but put a little spin on them to make them fun so that people will begin to think about them in a different way. That's the
Hmm.
whole idea. If you can think about aging in a different way, I think it'll change your whole outlook on what you're doing, as well as your advisor. If your advisor can take a little different spin on working with his or her aging clients, it will begin to change the way his clients look at them as the advisor. The other thing that I do is speak with companies when they gather all their agents together in one room and fire hose them with all the information they need to know for the year. Uh, I also present about all of the different things. Hey, Bill, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you know what a coxswain is?
Isn't that the person at the front of a crew, a skull that calls out the pace for the rowers when the crew is cruising down the river or wherever it is they're racing?
Yeah, you're right. You win. Ding, ding, ding. You win
Ding
the
ding ding.
prize.
So proud.
You win a new car.
I'll be content to win the radio behind you or
Okay.
whatever that is back there.
It's a record player radio. It's Betty's. See?
Oh,
You can put a record in
sweet.
there.
Oh, look at
45,
that.
45 or 33.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Nice.
But hey, the reason I brought up coxswain is because in my opinion, and this is a lot about what my presentations cover, is teaching advisors how to be the coxswain for
Mm.
their clients. But their clients have a piece in this because they have to fill that rowboat, so to speak,
Hmm.
with the right people, the more powerful rowers, if you will, sit toward the back. They're like the engine that get in. So who goes on your boat and who is your
Mm.
coxswain? Because it can't be you. You can't be your own coxswain. If
Right.
something happens and you can't remember, you know, what you're doing or who you are, who's going to be that coxswain for you and who else is going to be on your boat? So that's part of what I go into in my teachings and in my lectures, if you will,
Mm.
in teaching not only the advisors how to be that coxswain, but also giving the idea to the seniors or anyone that everyone needs to have a coxswain in their life. And it makes the most sense to have your financial advisor being in that position because they handle the money. That's where everything is going to come to at the end of the day is money. And, where are you going to live? How are you going to live? Ho Everything, it all comes down to the money. And so, a couple of things the coxswain does: steering, right?
Hmm.
Compensating for wind and current. So what happens in life? Change. You never know what's gonna come around the bend. Motivating the crew, encouraging them. So keeping everybody on pace, making sure everyone is going the right direction. So I love that analogy. My whole a lot of my presentations go around that theme. So if you're sitting in the audience as a client and I am presenting this to you at the first time, your mind is going, and maybe yours is going right now, is who is actually on your boat with you?
Hmm.
And maybe you might think of one person, maybe it's your kids. And okay, so
Well,
if it's your kid,
I would wager to bet that a lot of people didn't even think about putting their kids in the boat.
and maybe some people don't want to put their kids in the boat.
That's true too. I'll put my kids in my boat, but
Yeah. Yeah, my kids are in my boat too. But anyway, that's kind of the whole idea of the presentations. That so again, they can be one-on-one. I can meet one-on-one with an advisor as a
Mhm.
consultant to teach this advisor the whole idea of how they can get their clients on track and do a little bit of coaching on my own. I can meet one-on-one with the family of how to get their affairs in order. Maybe they're not quite sure where to turn, or maybe they don't even have a financial advisor.
I was gonna say, I would wager you that there are a lot of people, uh, o older, or people, as I prefer to refer to them, as people who've reached higher levels, who don't have a financial advisor for a variety of reasons, one of which is probably mistrust, and the other is they just never thought about it.
Well, that and I think it kinda depends on where you live. Sometimes the rural communities don't have the typical financial advisor setups
Mm,
like what we might have in the city. Um, and that whole money is buried in the backyard in the
yep.
coffee can thing. That's where I come from.
I'm related to a few of those
I'm
people, so yes, I
me too.
understand that, yeah.
And I think that it's no matter where your money is buried or where it's piled or if you even have and that's I would say a lot of people think, "Well, I'm not gonna go to a financial advisor. I don't have that much money." It's not about how much money you have. It's about learning to spend the money that you do have or, save on taxes. I think I've said it
Mm,
before. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep.
mhm.
And, from being in the wrong Medicare plan, we talked about Medicare on one of the past podcasts and reviewing your Medicare plan. Being in the wrong plan could be costing you a whole lot more than you should be spending. So, just having somebody to walk you through some of these things to look at and keeping sewing up that hole in your pocket is what I like to refer to it as because you don't know how much you're losing
Mm,
by not talking to someone that's a professional. So it's not about how much you make, it's not about how much you've saved or not saved. It's just really understanding what your choices are as you age and what you want to do. Speaking to the companies and their advisors gives everyone in that company it puts everyone on the same page. So if I'm
yeah.
talking to a group of advisors from XYZ company and they're from around the country and they've all heard me talk about this, now I can easily say, "Hey, I've worked with XYZ company and they
Mhm,
understand what we're doing here." And as people get a hold of me and want help, it's easy for me to refer clients because I have chatted with those advisors. And so it's a great way for some of the companies to begin to uh, have that target or have that specialty that they can say, "Hey, we specialize in this and we've worked with Carol and we understand her methods." It's and I think it's a really good feeling. Like you said earlier, it's sometimes trust that people don't know where to go or who to go to.
mhm.
But if someone's listening to this podcast and thinking, "Gosh, I've never talked to a financial advisor before, and I don't even know where to turn." What if I said, "Well, I can tell you there's somebody in your city who's gone through this with me, and they would be happy to talk to you." I think it would put some warm fuzzies on that.
Yeah, no, in fact, that's what I was curious about. I was sitting here listening to you talk about this, and I know you've done presentations for companies. You've done many of these before. What has been the typical reaction when you go in and you do these kinds of presentations? I'm curious.
It's the head nodding.
Mm,
Everyone agrees with what I'm talking about. And it's just like anything, when you go and you listen to a speaker, you're you're all revved up, you're all ready to go and excited. And then as soon as you walk out that door, it kind of I call it an ice cube effect.
yeah.
It kind of starts to melt away and life begins to happen again. And so the difference between what I'm talking about is it's not that hard to implement in your practice because it's not a workbook. It's not a class that you have to attend once a week and learn and then go and do. It's just a way of thinking. And so if you just picture yourself, and so when I'm talking to people and they begin to picture themselves as that coxswain, right?
Yeah.
When they begin to picture themselves in that position, and then they're having a meeting with a client and they begin to talk about, hey, who's on your boat? That is easy to do. It's not something that has to be really, studied. It's helpful for me to be able to share some of the details of how to have the conversations and,
Hmm.
a little bit in depth. But the reality of it all is I get the biggest reception from seniors that are in the room, the clients themselves. And that's why I like to do the client events because if you haven't seen a lot of your clients in a while, and there's the squeaky, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the
Squeaky
oil.
wheel gets,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
gets the
the
grease.
squeaky
Yep.
wheel clients who always are there. The market goes down. Hey, what's happening? The market goes up. Hey, should I buy more? There's those clients. Then there's those clients that if you don't call them, you don't see them.
Hmm.
And those are the people that are secretly aging over here. And maybe we need to pull them back in. And this is a perfect way. So when I'm talking to clients, this is a reality for them. They understand the meaning of aging, sometimes more than we do. Although today with my sore knee, I might tend to argue that. But, um, that's the biggest effect, which is why I love to do the client parties for, uh, clients who want to reengage or advisors who want to reengage with their clients in one way or another. Clients who want to sorry, advisors who want to show a new way of thinking to their clients who've maybe been coming forever. Or how about those advisors who added a team of people
Mm.
to work with their clients? It's a perfect way for us to introduce who's doing what and what the specialties are, and it's a new way of thinking. Or maybe an advisor who's getting ready to retire and is doing a succession plan. It's a perfect way to get the new person on board to say, we're going to take a different look at this, and it's time for all of you to come back in and meet the new person.
Mm.
So that's on the advisor side. On the client side, when we are when we're doing a party with Betty, you look out into the audience and every person is smiling. Okay, I probably lied. Maybe there's a couple of people who
There's
aren't
gonna be
smiling.
always gonna be a cranky person. Come on.
And and guess what my goal is? My goal is to make that person smile before the end of the presentation because they will. I will make them smile, and that's the given. But if you can smile when I'm talking about things as serious as finances and aging, and you're still smiling, it's a great day.
Yes.
And they're going to remember that. It's a memorable event that they'll talk about. Oh, let's talk about that. They will not only talk about it to their advisor, but they're going to go out and talk to their friends. They're going to go, you would not believe this party my advisor threw for us. You should go talk to my advisor because this is what they specialize in.
Well, for those who are listening to this podcast right now, Carol, and they may be intrigued and perhaps even ready to sort of elevate their event that they typically hold once a year. How do they reach out and get a hold of you? How do they set the wheels in motion and the plans uh, happening?
The best way to do it is go to jubilage.life. Jubilage.life. You'll see speaking events at the top, and you just fill out the little form. Tell me what you're interested in, and we will connect and we'll chat about what you're looking at, and we kind of custom make the presentation from there and get on the schedule.
That's great. And for those of you who are listening, the information is in the show notes. So if you happen to be like in a car or something, you couldn't write it down, don't worry, it's there. The other thing I would encourage people who are listening to this podcast to do is make sure you're a subscriber. This is the easiest, simplest thing you can do. And that way you never miss another podcast. When it is dropped, you're notified and you can give it a listen. I would also say, if you like the podcast, share it with people, share it, let people know. Word of mouth promotion is very much appreciated. So Carol, why don't you take us on out from here?
Our motto is guiding advisors and inspiring seniors. So hopefully we've done that today, inspired some advisors to take another step forward with a new look at their practice. And hopefully we've inspired some seniors to maybe take another look at their financially aging process. Thanks for your help, Bill. Thanks for the questions.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to JubilAge, where we celebrate the joy of aging and explore the financial wisdom to thrive in every stage of life. We hope you found today's conversation insightful, whether you're a financial advisor looking to better serve your senior clients or someone embracing the journey of aging. Remember, aging is a privilege, and with the right knowledge and perspective, it can be a vibrant, fulfilling experience. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share JubilAge with others who could benefit from our discussions. Until next time, keep living, keep learning, and keep celebrating every moment. Stay jubilant.